compared with all this top YouTuber, my channel is really, kind of, doesn't perform really well. But hopefully you guys give me some support. So for the second part of the UI, we're going to talk something very important called adapter views. So that the views I gave you so far, buttons, added view, text view, seek-bar, all of these are very concrete, straightforward views. You put it there, you specify the property, use a program control it, and it's going to work. But there are certain views that doesn't work that way. All right, here are the examples. Something called the list view, something called a grid view. You may have something called a spinner, which is just like a drop-down menu. You have stack views. All right, so what are these? Let me show you an example. List view. All right, so we're going to spend a lot of time on list view, and then you will probably use list view for sure in your app because this is a very useful, powerful, and common UI components in any kind of mobile apps, in any platforms. For example, here I have this list to show you all the different operating systems, or Android, iPhone, Windows Mobile, BlackBerry, WebOS, all this mobile, regular OS. And then you can basically browse the list by scrolling up and down. And you can also make some selections to check and check. You can interact with. So that's called list view. So the list view means that you can show all your information, that records row by row. You can scroll up and down. The reason this one is so commonly used, you should think about that. In mobile, using your finger to scroll up and down, that's one of the best user experience you can have. Very convenient compared with a desktop computer. You have to use your mouse to scroll up and down, control the scroll bar. Using finger, that's the best experience. All right, so that's why if your app can use the list view to show the information, to allow users to interact with each other, that's always give you a very good user experience. So we highly recommend to take a look at the list view. But now you think about to build a list view, there's a challenge because in general we put the view, the UI into that XML file, and it show up, and then you fill the information, you control the listener. But then here you have multiple records, right? And sometimes I know there are only 10 OS items here. Sometimes I don't know. All right, I don't know if you have another example, like here. What would be a good example? This one, Facebook app, right? Facebook app use a lot of list views. Like here is a notification, and you got new friends, update some information. You some new requests to become your friends. You never know how many notifications you will have every time when you click on this. It could be none, but it could be tons of those. So there's no way for you to predefine those records in XML file to build, let's say, 10 rows or 20 rows. You can't do that. It's a very dynamic type of UI. It really depends on the actual data and content, and then you need to provide those views accordingly. That's why we categorize this type of views as adapter views. So we talk about why it's called adapter views. All right. To understand that, to understand how to build the list view, how to use the view, we need to come back and talk about this idea called MVC. Hopefully you still remember. And that's the kind of structure and design you should follow as you build mobile apps in Android. Which means that you have to create dedicated class files for your model to describe your data, attributes, getters and setters, and then you build your views, which is in our case XML files, and then you have your controllers normally sits in the Java file main activity class that handles how do you change the user interaction and change the data, or how do you reflect the data changes on your view. All right, so that's how the MVC pattern works. Now, if you understand this one, all this adapter views, including list view, follow exactly the same idea. Any of this view need to have a model behind it, because we don't know, if we don't know the data, we don't know how many, we don't know what other content you want to show. So we have to build a model for the specific list view for all the information you want to render. And then your list view itself, you configure some kind of views for it to show. Maybe this record only needs to have a text. That record need to have a button, need an icon, need something else. And then you have a controller to bridge them together, to connect them together. All right, so later when we start to code this, you will find MVC pattern also has been used in this type of adapter views. So that's why I told you earlier, if you're interested in software design, Android is a perfect system to find out all these good design decisions, because Android is a relatively younger OS. So by the time people start to build Android, people already are very clear about all these design principles. So you can actually find out all these good designs from Android source code, and also some of the structures for the developer to use. All right. So to create a list view, you just need to follow the 3 steps based on MVC. Number 1, we need to create our model, define our model class, and then create that data set. Once you have the data set, you need to create the actual view. Basically, for every record, how you're going to show it. In this case, I have an icon plus a text view. And then finally, we need to create an adapter. The adapter, the purpose is to bridge them to. And then you insert that adapter to your list view, it's going to work. All right. So if you understand how does this work, if you know the steps to build it, this view is very powerful, because you can just basically create all the data, and then the list view will be able to handle how to render them together. All right. So you don't have to create all the records one by one. So let me show you an example. This is a good example to kind of give you a better idea on kind of a very complicated list view. All right. So this is a real screenshot I cut from the Facebook app, but this was one of the older versions. I don't know if it still looks like this. One point, if you click on that friend icon, it's going to suggest some of the friends that you can add based on some of the common friends based from your current friend, right? So these are the friends suggested to me. At one point, it shows the name, profile picture, a number of mutual friends. All right, so it's just 3 pieces of information. And if you want to add it, so you click on the button, that's going to send a request to the other side, and then if they receive, you become a friend. All right. So let me view this little feature. I want to focus on how do we render this part here. All right. How do you show a list of friend suggestions in the list view so that you can scroll up and down? All right. Let's build that one. Remember the 3 steps: model, which means data, and then view, and then finally your adapter. All right. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to create a new project to separate all these examples. This will be the lesson 4, adapter views. All right, so I got a new application here. So step 1, I want to build the model, the data, which means you just need to define that model class for your application to use. For the list view, the model means the actual individual model for your application. Now in this case, it's a friend suggestion. All right, so I can create something called friend, or to be more specific, friend suggestion. And then I need to look at the attributes. I need to know the name, I need to know the number of mutual friends, I need to know the profile image. So the profile image, I can just download them and put them into my resource folder. So the way to represent those is to use r.id. So in this case, it's actually integer. I'm going to show more about this. So profile, photo, resource ID. So these are the 3 pieces of data you need to record for each of your friend suggestions. Getters and setters. All right. I can also build a constructor just for me to easily create these instances. And also an empty one, so you can do either way. All right. That concludes my model construction. So very simple. So I just want you to think about, for any kind of this view, what is your data, what kind of information you have to include, and you need to build a dedicated class for it. All right. With that, we need to work on the next step, which is the view. All right. For the view, you don't have to build the whole thing because every row looks exactly the same. So you only need to specify the view for every individual one row, and then you're going to use the same view for all the records. So to build that, we need to go to the resource folder again, go to layout, and let's create a new layout file. This time I'm going to call the list view item friend suggestion. All right, so it's just a typical layout specification. Again, I don't want to use constraint layout because I don't have much control. I want to use the linear layout. Now for this layout, normally we actually do a match parent and match parent, right? So you can still do the same, but in this case, I really don't need that height. So for the height, I'm going to do a wrap parent because for every row, I just need to show the image and then the name stuff, all right? So coming back to the design, if we just focus on that one row, so pretty clear that I need a horizontal linear arrangement, 3 components. This part here, I need 2 text view, one after another vertically. So I need another linear layout. So I will start to build that one. So orientation, horizontal. First of all, I need an image view. Secondly, I need another linear layout to include 2 text views. One is actual name. The other is the number of mutual friends. Oh, I can't use the question mark. All right. And this one, orientation is vertical. All right. The third component will be a button. The button is called add friend. All right. So let's get image here as a placeholder. So I'm going to download some images here. So I'm going to use Addison again. So I'm going to call it a friend 1. All right, so I can easily name those. And let's just get others. Do it this way. All right. Who else? Any suggestions? What's your favorite player here? And again, you want to find the smaller one. Okay, don't get the super big one. It's going to crash your app sometimes. Especially for the little profile image, you want to get a really small one. Actually, you can search based on the size. Yeah, that's good. I should redo it. Let's just pick something from here. All right, so this guy here, friend 3. Friend 4. Let me get a better one for message. This one. So that's friend 2, right? And also for Allison. All right, let's get a few more. How many we got? 6. 6 probably not enough for the screen. So let's do one more. Who else? Give me a name. What's your favorite soccer player? Come on, give me a name. Oh, you don't watch soccer. Leo, give me a name. Okay. All right. Okay, so I got these 7 images. I'm gonna put those into my oh wait, there's a misspelling. Okay. All right, that's fine. All right, 7. All right. It doesn't matter JPEG or PNG. In the Android, they're only going to ask you the name. All right. So I'm going to use the first one, drawable, as a placeholder here to test my view here. All right. So we definitely need some changes. Right now, first of all, we need to specify the percentage. All right. So that's the most important one. So this little image takes about 1/5 or 1/6 of the whole screen. So if I give this one the weight of 1, and then let's see the others. This one would take more. This one should take half or a little bit over half. So I'm going to give that 3. And then the button got another 1 maybe. Actually more than 1, 1.5. We can try 1.5. Alright, so that looks okay. And maybe the image got a little bit more. Maybe 1.3. Right? And then secondly, you need to like center them. Like this one should be centered. So layout gravity, gravity. Everything should be centered. But oh yeah, so layout gravity should be centered. And then the button is the same. So layout gravity center. And add friend, actually this is comes to 2 lines, so this is not wide enough. Let's give more space. Alright, once that solves the problem. And they're two like close to each other. And also the image view, as you can see, this one here, the height is wrap content, the width. So let's do the scale type. Let's do a center crop. All right. And then the next thing to figure out is why this one is so high. And it's because of the height. So in that case, we probably need to control the height and width. So the height, let me see the best way to do this. Let me try if I just do this. Or let me change something else. that's the one I'm looking for. So this is like a special feature. Okay, sometimes you might need it. If you see your image, because the ratio or everything is not really taking all the spaces, even though this one is a square. Try an attribute called adjust view bounds and then set to be true. That somehow automatically fix it. All right. So I didn't remember exactly what this means, but it can actually help you to adjust the spaces around it. All right. So this one looks a lot better. And now we need to work on some of the margins. Otherwise, this one won't look good. So I need to make this one a little bit margin, not too much, maybe 3 dp, or maybe 5. All right, and then this two should be having some margins. So this one here, margin left, 10 dp. All right, and then the font here is bigger. So this name, text size, 18 sp. Let's make it bold. And mutual friends, maybe a little bit smaller, 16 sp. All right, looks good. And also the color, text color, I'm not going to change it, but this one looks good. And also the button here, this blue button. So Facebook blue color code. We are going to use this one for the button. So you need to make the background of the button to be this, and then the text color has to go to white. All right, so that looks pretty good, right? That's how you can make all of this. So that's how we build a view. All right, so this is only one view, but it can be reused for any of your data. Now, after this, we need to build the third component, which is the adapter. So the purpose of adapter is right now you have this view here, and then you have the data here. Now we all know that the name should go to this field, the number of mutual friends should go to this field, and then images go to that field. But Android doesn't know. So you need to write an adapter to basically connect them together. All right. So the adapter is something provided by Android. You have to basically create your own, but you can extend the existing adapter. So I'm going to create an adapter called friend suggestion adapter. So this class, you're never going to write everything by yourself. There are existing adapters for you to reuse. And probably the most commonly used one is something called array adapter, which means that you can pass your data, your multiple data records into an array and just send an array to this adapter. It's going to work. And then here you have to specify the type of the data in the array, which is friend suggestion. All right. Now, the reason it's component because you have to implement some of the predefined constructors. And then I just want to tell you that you want to use either a list or an array. So I'm going to use, let's do a list. All right. So some of the code I'm writing today in this example, and the first time you see it, you might feel, oh, how should I know to use this one? How should I know to call this method? How do I know it's actually this constructor? The answer is you just memorize it. And this is a very standard way to do the adapter. Almost every adapter you do exactly the same way. All right, so it's a very like a structured pattern structure to do. All right, so I'm going to show this example in multiple places in this class so that you will get more and more familiar with this. All right, so this constructor need you to provide three things: your context, your resource, and the actual list of objects. All right, so I'm going to come back to this later, but once you send all your object and your resource, which is your view, into this adapter, the adapter will know how to call the two, mix the two together. So inside this adapter, I'm going to record some at the same time. First of all, I'm going to record the list of friends suggestions. Friends. I also need to record the context. All right, I'm going to talk about why we need that context. Then the most important method, or the only method you need to implement, is this. If you try to override a method from this parent class, there is one method called getView. That's the only one you need to implement in your application. Now, this getView method takes input parameter called position. There is a convertView. There is a parent. All right. So for now, forget about what they mean. But I'm going to write this code that you are almost every time going to do the same thing. All right. So first of all, we need to actually, in this adapter, I need to know how to create a view based on this design. You already gave me the XML file, but I need to actually create it in my code. So in my adapter, I need to get something called layout inflator, because I need to basically turn that XML layout into a real view. All right, so I need to use this. Again, why do you need this class? How do I know that you need the class? Just remember it. All right, so this is something that you have to memorize, but it's not going to change. Always the same. And how do you get it? I think it's coming from context get system service, and you're going to get the layout inflator service, and then you have to cast the type. All right. Again, all this code doesn't look, very nice. It's very long, weird name, but you only use that in this step, okay, almost every time. Once you have a layout inflator, what can you do with it? You call something called inflate. That's going to let you to create that view. So you have to provide r.layout. We have list of view item friend suggestion. That's our layout file. Second parameter is the view root, which is actually the parent. So you're just going to provide this parent that's provided by the adapter. And then the third one asks you if you want to attach to root. Always do false. Don't ask me what does that mean. I actually don't know, but I know you always do false. So with this, it's going to return you a view. So you're going to save it. And eventually, you have to return this view back to user. All right. This view right here is actually the view we designed here. Right. But then you might be asking, why do I need to do this? Because I already defined the view here. Well, the answer is, by defining this, you now can actually get all the references from that little design. So now I can do, for example, I want to change the text view. Name text view. This one is going to be view dot font view by ID r.id dot name. Oh, did I give a name? Did I give an ID? Not yet. So this one needs an ID. Name text view. This one is number text view. This one is profile image view. And then the button is add button. All right, come back to here. So the ID is name text view. Now you get the reference. You can also get number text view. Also come from that view. Font view by ID. r.id dot number text view, and then you also need that image view. All right, image view will be the profile image view. Come from view dot font view by ID r.id dot profile image view. All right, now you probably can see how we're going to do it. Since you have these references, I showed you how can you change the text. So you basically call name text view dot set text, and to change that into the actual person's name. Where do we get the person's name? From our model. So where is our model? The model is actually right here. So I have access to the whole list of the data. You just tell me which one you are at, which row you are at. If you're row number 1, I'm going to use the very first element here and then get that name. How do I know which row you're asking? Take a look at this input parameter. Position represents actual index you need to process. So the way to do this one here is called a friends. It's a list. Get the actual position. With that object, I'm going to get name. You're going to use that to set your name text view. Same for here. The number of mutual friends, set text to be friends list get position get number of mutual friends, and then you're going to add a space mutual friend, and then profile picture same profile image view dot set image resource, and then I'm going to use friends dot get position dot get profile photo resource ID. Okay, so that's how you bridge and connect them. So you find out your view, you find your data, and then you use that data to set that to text. You use your data to actually set that. And this actually shows how the MVC works. Right? You create your data, you create your view, they're not related, but inside this adapter, you put them together. All right. So with that, let's see how we can use this. So once the activity starts, all right. So first of all, I need to know there is a list view. So I need. Oh, sorry, I haven't done that yet. So in this view here, I need to have a list view instead of a text view. So just a list view, and I have match parents and match parents. That's it. List view just need the ID called list view. All right. This is just a dummy data. You don't really have all of it. Just to show you there is a list. So in my main activity, I'm going to define, all right, list view. So here, the list view will be find view by ID r.id.list view. All right. Now, before we start to use this, we need to create our data. Right. So we have to create our data list of friend suggestions. All right. So friend suggestions will be new array list. All right. So we can start to add things. New friend suggestion. All right, so the first one is Addison, 20 mutual friends, and then the image ID will be r.drawable.friend1. All right, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got missing. So I'm gonna change some of this. Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and names I can't remember. So this is Dale. Let's put 6. Neymar. And 5. 4. All right. So I'm going to do this. That's my data. All right. Once I get the data, I can create my adapter. So my adapter is called this. Friend suggestion adapter. So how do I create? I have a constructor. So this is how it works. This one is a new friend suggestion adapter. It takes 3 parameters. Number 1, the context. Context means where do you put this list view? Who is the parent? It's actually this activity. Whenever you see the ask parent is basically asking that activity. So you're going to pass this because you are inside that activity. The second parameter is actually layout, the view. All right, the view is r.layout dot list item friend suggestion, this one. The third one is your data, which is our list. In this case, is my friend suggestions. That's it. So you create this instance of adapter, and you are giving the view, you're giving the data. And the adapter will work on to put them together. And finally, the last step is you do this. List view dot set adapter to be your friend suggestion adapter. All right, so let's take a look at how that works. All right, I'm going to run this application. All right, so let's see what's going on. So go here, find logs. All right, so here's the error message. So looks like another null pointer exception. Which one gave us null pointer exception? It's actually the context. So context is null. Oh yeah, because sorry, yeah. In the constructor, we have not like assigned a context. And the same for the friends. Right. So you pass them, but you didn't assign them. Try it again. All right. So that's my Facebook app. Right. So it looks pretty close. If I got rid of that top bar. Even though now I really can't click on anything, but images, name, number of mutual friends. As you can see, the nice part here is I didn't really implement every view. All right. I only implement one view. I just threw a bunch of data, and it knows how to actually display this. Why don't we have some of the margins? Let's actually fix this. But the margin doesn't look right. So I have a margin here. Or maybe I should do padding, because let me do a margin and also do a padding. Maybe that solve the problem. All right, so let me try this again. Yeah, a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, so you can automatically like scroll up and down. All right, and then let me show you, if you do more friends, all right, so I just want to copy some of those, okay? So I don't want to, I add a lot more. Let's see what happens. So if I do another, yeah, there are actually more, you just can't, it's very hard to, let me move this one. Look at my cursor. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. So I total 12 friends here. Okay. So again, now you can see the view is so flexible because I don't never need to go back to change the view. I just need to change my data here. So that's the essential idea of MVC pattern. Once you build this MVC pattern, the view always depend on the controller to know to read our data, and then it will know how to render all the data. And if we need to make some changes, we just need to go back to change our data. The change will be reflected. All right. And then the more cool things about this is you can change the data at real time. All right. So for example, let's add a button to, for example, generate a suggestion. All right. So I'm going to do that one. So let me add something in my view here. All right. I'm going to do a button at the top. All right. So this one is going to call generate friend. And I will use the same color. The color is nice, so let me change it to the same color, which is this one. And then the text color will be white. All right, so that one also needs some maybe some padding, actually margin. 3dp. All right. Let me give an ID. This ID will be add friend button. All right. Let me make sure the view looks good. Yeah, this one shouldn't be. Oh, because of constraint layout. Yeah, this is bad. Let me change it to linear layout. Then you don't have that problem. All right. So if we do this. All right, so that's a button to generate a friend. Later on, I'm going to click on this, and then it's going to randomly pick a friend and then generate for me, okay? So let me do it. So go to the main activity. So let me figure out that button. So private button, add friend button. This button will be here, font view by ID, r.id, add button, actually add friend button. All right, so now I'm going to program this. So if you ever click on this button, set on quick listener, and then I will need to do something like this. All right, so in that case, I have to declare this at the top of my class. So that I can change it anywhere I want, and I don't want to do all of this. Maybe delete some of this. All right. All right, and then I will just go here and say friend suggestion is new, and I can. What would be a good way to randomly choose something from a list? Yeah, and then I need to build a list. It's kind of like tedious. All right, anyway, I'll build it. So names. Yeah, just build an array. Yeah. So names, new, string. All right. So I send. Let me see. All right, so I want to only do 5, okay? And then images. So drawable r.drawable.friend1. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So here I'm going to randomly generate that. Okay, so I will say that the name will be names random dot utility. How to generate random in Java? Next int, which is 4, 5. Let me do 4 just to be safe. And then next one will be the number. So new rand. Oh, actually, I need to generate the index here. So the index will be new random dot next int. I think it's not included, so I can do 5. So here, I will just use the index. And then for the mutual friend, I can just generate another number. So next int, which is 100. And then finally, images index, right? So just to kind of have a randomly generated logic. But all we need is just a brand new friend suggestion. All right, with that, once you add that, all I need to do is to add it to my friend list. So go to the friend suggestions, dot add friend suggestion. All right, so that's pretty much the logic. But first of all, let me test it. All right, so now I got a new button, and I'm going to click on that new button. Right now, I have 7 friends, but when I create a generate, and it's still the 7, it's actually not changing it. All right, so we're missing one step, which is, remember, whenever you change the data set, like in this case, I'm adding, actually every time when I click on the button, I add a new object. You have to tell the list view that something got changed. Please refresh it. Otherwise, list view doesn't know when you change it. So that's why you need to call this. Tell list view dot notify. Wow, they actually changed this. Previous call is called a notify dataset change. Right now it's defer. I actually don't know what this does, but let's try to defer notify dataset change. Okay, that's interesting. I need to look into why it's this one. But anyway, we try to notify the list view. All right, our dataset, our model has been changed. Please go ahead to review. Sorry, refresh your view. Let's see if that works. All right, so right now 7 data. I click on this to generate. Nothing happens. Let me create more. Nothing happens. All right. Oh, sorry, no, it's not this one. It's actually the adapter. I'm calling the wrong thing. So a friend suggestion adapter dot notify dataset change, because adapter really handles to connect the view and your dataset. Yeah, it's been a while since I used this last time. So adapter, sorry. Now we got adapter notified. Create suggest friend. Now I got a new. Let me click more. And I got more, but it's all random. Like I see the number, they're random. I got more, and it's all random. Why this? Oh yeah, so it's all correct. All right. So the nice part here is, if you want to change the view, you're only going to change the data, and the view will take care of rendering everything, and everything happens at runtime. All right. So if you understand how to do this feature will be easy. If you, for example, if you click on add friend, we're going to add that into a friend, and then this record should be gone from the list. So we need to delete that from the list. So let's see how to do it. So go back to my adapter. I haven't really processed the button here. So in every row, there is also a button. So this one is called add button. View.find view by ID, r.id.add button. Now add button, I can do exactly the same thing, set on quick listener. So whenever you click on this button, all I need to do is to remove that record from my list. My list is friends. Remove something from the list is remove. You can, if you know the position, you can just do this. All right, that's it. And then after that, don't forget, you have to notify dataset change. Since you are inside this adapter, so you can just call notify dataset change directly. It should work. All right, so let's try it. Add friends, it's gone. Add Missy, it's gone. All right. And then when I start to generate a friend, delete, generate, delete, So that's how you implement a list view. Pretty cool, right? As you can see, everything is rendered, runtime. But the structure is not complicated. You only build one view. All you're doing is actually to operate on the data, because that's actually what we care. Okay, when you're dealing with simple any kind of apps, on Facebook, sometimes you got a new news feed, you got a request, you got the messages. A lot of things are happening at runtime. So if you can always do the MVC model, eventually your code is only going to be dealing with that data. So and now you know how to receive data, save data, modify the data, and then you call the notify changes. Then the view will be refreshed. Everything will be taken care of automatically. All right. So this is called list view. Now I already showed you a pretty complicated list view. In general, you sometimes don't do all of this. You have the image, you have button, you have two text view. Sometimes your list view is very simple. But I just want to give you a very complete example of how do you handle this. Now, you might still feel kind of overwhelming when you see so much code, but I can tell you that this part is everything you already know. All right. The only new things is this 2 lines and also this constructor plus this base class. But these 3 things you just need to remember them. It's every time you do the same thing. There's no reason. It's just how Android defines this. Some of the parameters don't bother to understand. Like this last one called attached to root. So it says that if you want to understand what does that mean, if you read the Java doc, Android list array adapter. Sorry, just call it info. Right. This one right here. Attached to root. All right. So you look at this method. This attached to root specifies whether the inflated hierarchy should be attached to the root parameter. If false, root is not only used to create a correct subclass of layout parameter for the root view index. No. After reading this, you don't get it. You don't get it. I still can't understand it, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so there is just too much details. You don't have to make sure you understand every single detail to make it work. As long as your app works, let's move on. Okay, focus on MVC. All right, get that feature works. Even though you get everything correct, if your app does, is not valuable, you don't help users to solve some problem. It doesn't matter. Users don't care about how good the implementation is, how efficient your algorithm. They care about you solving a problem. So don't be bothered the first time when you learn all of this. The things you need to understand, like MVC, you need to know. The structure you need to know. The pattern you need to know. But some of this, don't worry, because this is kind of my feeling. When I actually first time look at a lot of these classes, why I want to do this, I remember it's pretty overwhelming. But later you find every time when you do a list view, you do exactly the same kind of adapter. All right, so that's how we're going to do list view. Now this one is very important. Most of your app will probably need this. All right, so the benefit I mentioned, the view will be depending on the data. So data can change, the view can change. They can both change independently. The adapter has the reason we call it adapter is because it's based on a design pattern. So we'll talk about that in the 356 class. So one of the design patterns called adapter pattern. This pattern tries to solve this kind of problem, where you have 2 things. You know they're going to work together, but they're not perfectly fit. And this is the best example, right? So you have this power outlet, and then you have this. And when you maybe for example you travel to Europe or to Asia, your regular the power won't work. So what you can do is to find this adapter to plug in and it's going to work. So the purpose of the adapter is just to bridge the 2 slightly different things. They're not trying to bridge totally different things. They have to be related. Now you can tell the data we have, friend suggestion, has everything that you need. So that's why the adapter can help. So following this pattern, you will have 3 components or 3 set of classes in your code. That's a very good design principle. So we'll talk more about this one in another class. That's just a UML diagram for this pattern. All right, so MVC is a typical design pattern, adapter pattern. So some other things I'm not going to show you the example. This one is simpler. So like this thing called spinner, which is a drop down. Exactly the same thing as this view. All right, but it's not as frequently used as this view. Gallery. So you can show the images by swiping left and right and up and down. So you can have as many images as you want, but you're only going to define one view to show that image. There is a view called a view pager. Now this one you might see it when you have a lot of tabs on your app. So you can swipe left or right, you can switch the screen. So that one is done using this thing called view pager. View pager is also adapter view. So basically you have to provide for every screen what you want to show. And then you throw that into adapter. Adapter will know how to do it. All right. So that's actually another thing. So I'm not going to show you all of this. These are not as commonly used as list view. List view is the most important and also probably more complicated to implement than some of this. Some other things I probably won't talk until you need it. Like action bar is actually the top bar. This is just some kind of option you can have for your app, or just leave it at default, depending on whether you need it or not. So I'm not going to talk too much because this is actually not very interesting. By doing a lot of code, you just see some kind of button to do how to do this, how to do that. I want to show you more kind of a cool example that's something you think actually complicated, but we can actually do that pretty easily. Another one is the menu. All right, so there is actually a lot of different menus you can do. You can also have a context menu, the long hold to trigger the menu. All of this, when you need those, go ahead to take a look at that. All right, so I just want to focus on the core part of the UI. So knowing how to do the individual ones, knowing how to do the adapter ones, you will be good to go. And then plus the layout stuff like we told you on Monday. Yeah, Monday. So you should be good to do anything you want. And plus Google will be your friend. That's why I want to show you how I actually go ahead to search all of these answers. I think that's probably more important than just listening to all these lectures. All right. So any questions? Okay, I think I give you enough stuff today. All right, so let's I'll work on your app. You have the start. Okay, if you still haven't started, it's too late. All right, so you need to get some of the screens done. And whenever you have questions, you got stuck in your code, bring your laptop. I can actually take a look at those. All right. So next week I'm going to talk about network and communication. How do you send messages to servers? Get information from the server. How do you call APIs? And then we'll also show you how to do your own backend using the service called Google Firebase. It's a very cool service that you can build some application pretty easily. All right, so next week will be very important. We'll give you a lot of professional and industry type of tools and technologies. All right, so I'll see you next week.